I remember why I took this job. Desperation, bills piling up, no one else to call. So here I am, sitting in a flickering security office in the middle of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, the only light coming from the humming monitors and a weak desk lamp. The smell hits first. Musty carpeting, old grease, something metallic underneath, and I can almost taste the dust in the air. The office is tiny, cluttered with a small fan rattling on my left, a worn Freddy mask sitting to the right, and a half-empty desk with scattered cans I hadn't bothered to touch. I glanced at the monitors, noticing the long, funnel-shaped hallway stretching beyond the office. The shadows twist strangely across the floor, almost alive. The phone rings, shrill and digital, and the pre-recorded voice of the phone guy crackles to life. He walks me through the basics. The mask for the animatronics that notice humans, the flashlight to keep the fox-like one at bay, and the music box, located far across the pizzeria. He warns me to keep my wits about me, and I can feel the weight of the night pressing down before I even stand. The phone clicks dead, leaving me in near silence. I take my first cautious steps out of the office, flashlight in hand, moving down the slightly warped linoleum floor. The light catches peeling posters, broken arcade machines, and half-open doors. My heart thumps audibly in my ears as I peer into the long hallway. Shadows are everywhere, stretching like claws toward me. I notice the first hint of movement. Withered Bonnie. Farther down the hall, his exposed wires glinting in the dim light, head twitching unnaturally as if sensing me. I freeze, barely breathing. He doesn't move yet, just watches from a distance. I creep along, hugging the wall, the flashlight cutting a narrow cone of visibility. The floorboards creak softly beneath my shoes, and I catch glimpses of the vents near the ground, left and right. I keep one eye on the camera monitor, which shows Toy Chica lurking in the arcade room. But the cameras are sluggish. I realize tracking everything will be harder than I thought. My pulse rises, a cold sweat forming as I remember the mask. I leave it on the desk, though no immediate threat yet, but it's close enough to reach if needed. I reach the hallway to the music box, a small storage room tucked behind the stage. The door is slightly ajar. I step in, careful not to make a sound, and wind the music box slowly. The notes are delicate, but ominous, echoing faintly through the air ducts. As I turn back toward the hallway, I catch a flash of movement in the corner of my eye. Withered Freddy, barely visible through the shadows, shifting slightly. I ducked behind a support beam, heart hammering, waiting for him to pass. Minutes stretch like hours. I explore slowly, checking restrooms, an unused kitchen, and small storage closets, each one filled with forgotten party supplies, broken cheers, and the faint smell of stale pizza. I hear a faint, metallic clatter from the left vent. Nothing yet, but the sound lingers. My flashlight flickers briefly, and I swear the shadows move just a bit faster, more purposeful. By 12:45 a.m., I've traversed nearly half the pizzeria, winding the music box periodically, peeking into the arcade room and hallways. Toy Bonnie has shifted closer, visible from the end of a corridor, but the mask hasn't been needed yet. Toy Chica appears from a side vent, her glowing eyes tracking me for seconds before retreating, leaving me breathless. My adrenaline is sharp, my body tense, every sound amplified. The hum of the old fan, the flicker of the lights, distant metallic creaks. The last 15 minutes of the hour are the hardest. I find myself trapped momentarily between a service closet and the hall. Toy Freddy moves across the stage, casting long shadows. I hug the wall, barely daring to breathe, moving silently until I reach the main hallway again. I glance at the clock. 12:59 a.m. 1 hour down, and already the pizzeria feels alive with the intent to hunt. I can't help but shiver. The animatronics are subtle tonight, almost casual, but the awareness is there. They're watching, learning, waiting. I know now this night is going to test every nerve I have. The first hour left my nerves raw, and stepping back into the hallways, I can feel every shadow pressing closer. My flashlight flickers again as I leave the office, its narrow beam barely cutting through the gloom. The pizzeria feels aware. The posters on the wall seem to twist in the dim light, peeling edges like jagged teeth. I can hear the distant hum of the arcade machines, a static note that echoes down the long funnel-shaped hallways. I move cautiously toward the restroom corridor, knowing it will take me closer to the music box. Wheat hush stiff. The linoleum creaks sharply, as if warning something of my presence. And then I see it. Withered Bonnie's face. Or what's left of it. His plastic head tilts unnaturally from the far hallway entrance. Wires exposed. Glowing red dots where his eyes should be. He isn't moving yet, but the recognition is chilling. My hand hovers over the mask, ready to pull it down at a moment's notice. I duck behind a counter as I hear Withered Chica's faint clattering from the vent on my left. A missing hand scrape lightly against the metal grill, and I freeze, barely daring to breathe. The vent shakes slightly, a warning tremor, before she retreats just enough for me to slip forward. I've learned already that staying in one spot too long increases the risk. These animatronics patrol, hunt, and learn. I approach the side hallway that leads to the music box room. Every step feels deliberate, careful. I glance at the camera monitors. They flicker inconsistently, showing glimpses of withered Freddy leaning in from the stage, his jaw slightly open, eyes glowing faintly in the darkness. I note his position mentally. I can't rely on the monitors entirely. The music box itself sits on a high shelf in the corner of the storage room, far from the office. I approach it slowly, winding the key. Each turn of the key makes a soft, eerie melody that echoes through the empty hallways and vents. The sound carries a lure for anything with ears. I glance to my right. Toy Bonnie has shifted closer to the main corridor, wires glinting in the faint light. I press myself against a wall, ducking behind a trash bin, and barely make it unnoticed. Suddenly a shadow darts across the end of the hall, the first real movement I've seen in the open. It's Toy Freddy, stepping lightly, almost casual, but the long shadows stretch toward me like claws. I don't move. I breathe shallowly, gripping the mask, ready to pull it over my face at the first sign of recognition. The music box melody winds down, but I know it's only temporary. If I leave it too long, the puppet will be active. I move from room to room. The small kitchenette, the storage closets, the back hallway that leads to the arcade. Each area shows signs of neglect, scuffed tiles, peeling wallpaper, broken party favors, and the faint metallic temps in the air that I can't ignore. I hear Withered Chica's claws scraping a vent somewhere nearby, her head tilting unnaturally as she searches for me. I adjust my path, hugging shadows, keeping the flashlight ready for Foxy if he appears. By 1:30 a.m., the animatronics are more active. Toy Bonnie now lingers near a vent just down the hall, pausing as if sensing me. Toy Chica occasionally glances from the vent on my left, red cheeks, glowing eye fixed in my direction. Withered Freddy shifts closer to the main stage area. Every time I pause, my pulse spikes. I can almost feel their awareness crawling along my spine. I reach the music box again to wind it further, and I can feel the adrenaline pushing me forward. Staying in one area too long clearly provokes the animatronics. Toy Bonnie moves closer when I pause, and I notice subtle twitches in Withered Freddy's stance. I realize the hallway is no longer just a corridor. It's a gauntlet, a funnel where every corner could hide death. The last 15 minutes of this hour are the most harrowing. I traverse the back hallway to the arcade, flashlight sweeping across broken machines. I catch glimpses of Withered Freddy and Toy Bonnie through the corners of my vision. The mask sits heavy in my hand, an instinctive shield I pull up briefly when a vent rattles. Each turn of a door, Each step on the creaking linoleum, every flicker of light raises the tension. I duck behind a counter as Toy Chica glides past the vent near the floor, claws scraping ominously, before retreating. My breathing is rapid but controlled. I've learned the animatronics are not mindless. They stalk, test, and watch. By 1:59 a.m., I'm back in the main hallway, heart pounding, flashlight beam shaking slightly. I glance at the clock. 2 hours into the night, and the pizzeria already feels alive with intent. The first hour of real movement is over, but the sense of danger hasn't diminished. It has only grown. A predator in every shadow, a whisper in every vent. I know this night will demand every ounce of focus, courage, and wit I have. The clock ticks over to 2 a.m., and the pizzeria seems to pulse with intent. The hallways are darker now, shadows pooling unnaturally in corners, stretching along the peeling wallpaper and cracked tiles. My flashlight cuts through the gloom, but it only highlights how empty and vast the place really is. The vent grills along the floor rattle faintly, a reminder that I'm not alone. I move cautiously toward the kitchenette, hoping to cross to the hallway that leads to the storage room with the music box. The office feels impossibly far now, and every step feels like a risk. Withered Bonnie lurks near the left vent, wires twitching, red eyes glowing faintly in the darkness. I hug the wall, keeping the flashlight low, careful not to draw attention. The first hour had been tense, but now the animatronics are testing boundaries. They're moving faster, observing more. A new animatronic drags itself from the vent on my left. Wires dangling, its head twisted at an impossible angle. I freeze as Mangle's single glowing eye locks onto me, metal scraping along the vent floor. I instinctively grip the mask and pull it down. This time, it doesn't work the way it used to. Its attention falters, but I can still feel Mangle watching. The first clear sign that the mask is losing its protective power. As I inch toward the music box room, I notice withered Freddy standing closer to the center stage, jaw slightly open, eyes flickering in the dim light. He hasn't moved aggressively yet, but the way he's angled makes me consider an alternate route. I decide to backtrack into the storage hall, scanning every corner. A faint metallic clatter behind me, the unmistakable sound of Foxy's hooks scraping across metal. I spin, flashlight catching him in a brief glare. He retreats just as quickly, but my pulse is racing. It's clear now that lingering in one place is deadly. I start moving more, ducking behind counters, sliding under tables. Anything to keep the animatronics uncertain of my location. I reach the music box room and wind it slowly, keeping the sound low, aware that the puppet could be drawn to any loud notes. The melody echoes faintly down the hall, and I glance back. Toy Bonnie has shifted closer to the corner near the arcade machines. His head twitches mechanically, and I step lightly to avoid drawing attention. Every second counts. A misstep could trigger a chase. Suddenly, a shadow moves in the hallway. Toy Freddy has stepped forward, closer than before. I hide behind a wall, holding the mask ready, watching as his glowing eyes sweep the corridor. My heart pounds as I realize that even small movements provoke them. They're learning, adapting, testing my patience. I move from the music box room toward the restrooms to scout alternate routes, careful to stay out of the vent lines. Withered Chica flickers, in and out, of my peripheral vision, her missing hand scraping, and I realize that any pause could be fatal. Each room is a gauntlet, a flicker of light, a scrape from the vent, a mechanical twitch, keeping me on edge. The final 20 minutes of this hour escalate further. Toy Bunny edges closer to the vent, near the kitchenette. Foxy prowls the far hall, and withered Freddy lingers mid-corridor, all slowly closing in. I duck behind a table in the arcade room, flashlight sweeping, ready to flash Foxy if he charges. The music box melody winds down again, the puppet's presence imminent. If I leave it unwound for too long, by 2:59 a.m., I am at the end of the hall, catching my breath, adrenaline spiking. The first major wave of active animatronics has passed. But I know this is just the beginning. Every shadow, every metallic scrape, every flicker of light reminds me that survival depends on constant movement, awareness, and careful use of the mask, flashlight, and music box. One wrong step could cost me the night. The clock strikes 3 a.m., and the pizzeria feels like it's closing in on me. The lights flicker violently now, throwing the halls into harsh shadows that twist and lengthen unnaturally. I move quickly down the main corridor, flashlight in hand, scanning the vent grates and corners. I know the animatronics are active. Their metallic clicks and servo hums echo through the empty building. Staying in one spot too long is suicide. Toy Bonnie has shifted again, this time at the entrance to the kitchenette vent. His head twitches mechanically, two glowing red dots scanning the hall. I hug the wall, careful not to attract his attention. My mask is ready. Past hours have shown it's slightly less reliable. If I pause too long, even the mask might fail to hide me. Toy Chica emerges from the vent near the storage hole, moving slowly, her claws scraping across the tiles. I freeze, watching her tilt her head unnaturally, glowing eye sockets locked on me. I take a cautious step back, careful to keep my movements minimal. The mask works, just barely, but her lingering presence makes the air feel thick with tension. I decide to move toward the restrooms, planning to use them as a shortcut to the break room and eventually the music box. As I move, I hear the unmistakable scraping of Foxy's hook-along metal. He emerges from the far end of the arcade hall, prowling with lightning-fast precision. I shine the flashlight briefly, catching him in a glare. He recoils, but the moment passes like a heartbeat, leaving me shaken. The music box in the far storage room is critical. I duck into the janitor's closet to hide briefly, listening as withered Freddy ambles closer down the main hallway, jaw hanging open, eyes flickering like dying lanterns. My pulse is racing as I plot my route. The music box must be wound, or the puppet will appear. But moving toward it now is extremely risky. I dart from closet to hallway, trying to stay in shadows while keeping my flashlight ready. Toy Bonnie's mechanical twitching in the vent makes me hold my breath. Even the slightest motion might betray my position. I reach the music box room and begin winding it carefully, ears straining for any sound of pursuit. The melody echoes softly, a lifeline in the dark. No sooner have I finished than a metallic clatter resonates from the arcade hall. Foxy is charging. I sprint toward a corner near the restroom, diving behind a counter as his hook swings past, scraping the tiles inches from my hand. My flashlight dances across the room as he retreats, but the adrenaline leaves me breathless. I remain crouched on the floor longer than I should, lungs burning, pulse hammering in my ears. My hands shake as I force myself to breathe quietly, every inhale feeling too loud in the suffocating silence. When I finally stand, my legs protest, weak and unsteady, the aftermath of fear still coursing through me. I take a moment to assess the situation. The music box is still holding, faint and steady in the back of my mind. The mask still works, but not the way it did earlier. Every animatronic feels sharper now, more aware, less forgiving. They are no longer wondering. They are reacting to me. A soft, childish giggle echoes down the hallway. Loon Boy steps into view near the arcade entrance, his striped shirt barely visible under flickering lights. His head tilts sharply, eyes locked on me, smile wide and unblinking. I instinctively lift the mask, but nothing changes. He just stands there, watching, as if cataloging my movements. I back away slowly, refusing to turn my back on him. Metal scrapes violently from the left vent. Mangle drags itself into the hallway, wires dangling, limbs tangled, head twisted at an unnatural angle. Its single glowing eye fixes on me, claws grinding against the tile with a sound that sends panic up my spine. I slam the mask down and freeze. It hesitates. Not long enough. I retreat into the arcade, heart pounding. Balloon Boy's laughter echoing behind me. Closer now, like he's guiding the hunt. By 3:59 a.m., I find myself near the far end of the main hall, back pressed to the wall, flashlight trembling in my grip. Every creak of metal, every flicker of light makes my muscles tense. Something heavy moves nearby, slow and deliberate. The clock ticks forward. It is now 4 a.m. The pizzeria feels smaller the moment the hour changes. The fluorescent lights flicker erratically, shadows stretching across the tiles like grasping hands. The mask feels heavier now, unreliable, as if the animatronics can sense hesitation behind it. I cannot stay in one place. I move quickly toward the break room. Toy Bonnie's red eyes flare inside the left vent, his head jerking sharply as I pass. I raise the mask just in time. He freezes, but his gaze lingers longer than before, calculating. From the opposite side, withered Chica lurches into view near the storage area. Her jaw hanging open, wires exposed, eyes glowing faintly. She does not rush me. She watches, slow and patient, as if waiting for a mistake. Metal groans echo from the main stage. Withered Freddy steps forward, heavy footsteps shaking the floor, his hollow eyes locking onto the hallway. I press the mask tight to my face, heart hammering. He pauses, tilts his head slightly, then turns away. But I know he noticed something. A sudden clatter erupts from behind. Withered Bunny staggers out from the shadows near the arcade entrance, face torn away, glowing eyes fixed directly on me. I barely manage to pull the mask up in time. He stops inches away, towering, silent, then slowly turns and disappears into the darkness. My hands are shaking now. The music box. I need to wind it. I push through the arcade cautiously, flashlight sweeping low. Foxy explodes from the corridor without warning. I flash him hard, the light burning into his eyes. He recoils, but only briefly. His hook slams into the tiles where I stood moments ago, sparks flying as I dive aside and sprint through the restroom corridor. I do not stop until I reach the music box room. I wind it carefully, every turn of the handle echoing in my skull. The melody steadies. The puppet remains inside, but I feel the pressure building, like a coiled spring. A flicker on the camera makes my stomach drop. Balloon Boy again. Closer, his head snapping toward the lens, smile unchanged. By 4:59 a.m., I am crouched near the music box room, chest tight, mask feeling paper thin. The pizzeria feels alive now, aware of me, watching from every corner. The clock flips. 5 a.m. The building groans under the weight of constant movement. Shadows warp along the walls. The animatronics are everywhere now. Toy Chica crawls through the left vent, closer than before, her glowing eyes lingering on me as I press the mask tight. On the right, Toy Bunny twitches violently, sensing motion. Mangle scrapes somewhere nearby, metal echoing through the vents. Withered Freddy patrols the main hall, slow and methodical. Withered Chica drags herself closer from the storage area. Withered Bunny lurks near the arcade, waiting. Foxy charges again, forcing me to sprint, narrowly dodging his hook as it crashes into the floor behind me. I weave through hallways, janitor's closet, break room, flashlight and mask working together as best they can. Balloon Boy floats through camera feeds, laughing softly, distracting me at every turn. I realize too late that I have not wound the music box recently. The melody falters. My blood turns cold. From the prize corner, something moves. The puppet begins to emerge. Long limbs stretch outward, mask-like face tilting as it slips free of the box. Its presence feels heavier than the others, silent and absolute. Panic surges through me as I rush forward, winding the box frantically. But the damage is done. It is out now. Moving. Hunting. Then everything goes wrong. Golden Freddy appears near the main hallway without warning, partially transparent. Golden eyes burning through the darkness. He does not move. He does not need to. I freeze, heart slamming against my ribs, unsure where to run, what to face first. By 5:45 a.m., the pizzeria is pure chaos. Withered Freddy patrols relentlessly. Withered Bonnie and Chica close in from opposite sides. Foxy charges unpredictably. Toy Bonnie and Toy Chica pressure the vents. Mangle scrapes and crawls through hallways. Balloon Boy watches and distracts. The puppet moves freely now, silent and terrifying. Golden Freddy flickers in and out of existence, paralyzing me with fear each time he appears. I run, I hide, I flash, I mask, I wind the box whenever I can. The final minutes blur into a desperate rhythm of survival. Every movement is calculated. Every second stolen. My body is exhausted, my mind barely holding together. Then the clock chimes. 6 a.m. The animatronics freeze mid-motion, as if pulled by an unseen force. Silence crashes down over the pizzeria. I slump against the wall, chest heaving, flashlight shaking in my grip. The mask hangs uselessly at my side. But I have survived. Later, I see the newspaper clipping. The pizzeria is permanently closed, cordoned off as a crime scene. I step outside as dawn breaks, my breathing the loudest sound on the empty street. The horrors of the night linger in every shadow, every flicker of light. I know now that surviving was not just skill. It was timing, instinct, and luck. And even that might not be enough next time.